Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is week number 4 of the European Qualifier for the Quake World Championships Duel Qualifier. And our next series has me both very excited and also very sad, because it's going to be a UK boy versus a UK boy. It's going to be ZSX versus Hell. Now, we've seen Hell throughout this entire qualification series in both Duel and Sacrifice. We've seen ZSX as well. You guys would have seen him last Sunday doing commentary for the EU Duel qualifiers as well. Did a great job with the Zoot. Shoutouts to you guys. But I'm excited to see UK boys go at it, but at the same time, one of them has to go home, and that makes me very sad.
Problem is, and the good thing is, we are guaranteed to see a UK player advance. We are also guaranteed to see a UK player get eliminated, which makes this very difficult. But regardless, we've seen both these players now, both very capable players. Very passionate about the game, I think is fair to say as well. And Hell, specifically, we've also seen him do good things in Sacrifice too. So both of these players, and it will be Ruins of Sarnath, very confident, capable guys, and very passionate about Quake.
Now, this is the first time we've seen Ruins of Sarnath today, as we progress throughout this bracket. The predetermined map.
You know, Nyx and Ranger together is something we've seen almost every single map today.
It's like
it is
Nyx,
very popular today.
It's like Nyx and Anarchy was old and busted. Nyx and Ranger is the new hotness. But no, we've got Hell going in for Clutch, and then we also see a Visor. So Clutch, again, Clutch on this map, really strong, I think. Like, he's got good freedom to fly around however he wants. Shield Wall catching you in those really popular areas. Like, Shield Wall on the heavy armor location in particular is a very dangerous kill zone to get caught in. Like, you don't want to get caught by a Clutch in that situation at all. But he can fly around the map. He's got good health pickups everywhere. Like, I don't know. It's just a good map for the champion, I feel.
Off topic though, I think that's quite an interesting observation when you talk about how it used to be sort of Nyx and Anarchy, and now we're seeing Nyx and Ranger all the time. I'm not sure if it just so happens to be the players.
It might just be the luck of the draw. It might just be the matches that we're seeing. But when you compare previous weeks to this week, we've seen Anarchy a astonishingly low amount. At least on our broadcasted games, it was normally almost like a must pick. Anarchy and Nyx has almost picked every single game, but today that just hasn't been the case.
Especially on Ruins too. We've seen quite a lot of Anarchy on this map, particularly until now, but obviously the longer the night goes on, we'll see if that continues to be a thing. But regardless, I think Ranger really is that tried and true, just jack of all trades, reliable pick for practically any map. I'm not really surprised at all to see him pick so often.
So here we go. There's going to be UK boys going head to head. One of them has to move on, and one of them is going to be eliminated from the Quake World Championship.
Maestro Hell versus ZSX. Going to be Nyx versus Ranger at the start. And looks like ZSX is getting a bit aggressive already. The Ghost Walk popped already by Hell. So
the important thing is that he was able to secure that rail. That's the important thing to take away. They both missed the rail. ZSX doesn't quite get to connect, but teleports towards his dire orb. He still wants to be aggressive. He does not want Hell to get stacked up at all.
I guess ZSX is playing very rush heavy so far. Really trying to take it to Hell. Sort of back to this sort of quiet situation. The heavy armor is going to be up any second now. Oh, good rail from ZSX.
Doesn't want to overextend though. I think he's more content just taking that rail and then sitting pretty. Sort of take that heavy stack that he's got. Oh, he needs armor. He hasn't got armor yet. We're going to see again who's going to get this first frag. So often such an important thing to secure as the first blood.
Or ZSX tried to get that shot, but wasn't quite on the mark. Mega health is up. Looks like Hell is just going to concede that and go for the heavy armor. There we go. There's the sort of trade-off.
This is a trade we see all too often on Ruins in particular, where it's you see the mega health and you just trade it off for the heavy armor, and that's it. Simple as that.
A lot more caution being exercised here than we've seen so far. I think neither player really wants to overcommit at all. Let's not forget, when you lose that first champion, you are basically on the back foot now, because you kind of have to deal with being down on champions. And obviously, the longer this round goes on, the more of a problem that will continue to be.
They both have their escape options ready. Nyx. Oh, wow. That 100 damage rocket. Hell would have been forced to run away. The dire orb to Predictor coming up towards the mega health and just denying it. Look at the stack of ZSX versus Hell. That is substantial.
I think it's safe to say that if ZSX starts a fight now, he's almost going to be guaranteed to win it. Especially we can see now that Hell doesn't have his Ghost Walk up.
Yeah, 15 seconds until then.
Not quite sure if ZSX has noticed that he doesn't have it yet. Unless he just wasn't in the radius and didn't hear him or see him use it.
Oh, the time difference once again does mean that we are likely to see another trade. So the heavy armor gets taken by ZSX. He doesn't even need the mega health. Just look at how much health he's got in combination with the armor. Like, he is more than healthy before he even collects it.
I know ZSX able to get both of them, wasn't he, with the trades. ZSX is just controlling them completely.
It's kind of interesting to see that Hell decided to concede both of them whilst having a Ghost Walk. I think he really just wants to keep that Ghost Walk for when the frag happens.
It must be said, ZSX's accuracy in this game has been ridiculous so far. Nyx is not an easy target to hit, and most of the time these are like cross-map, very difficult to hit shots, and ZSX is hitting these rails almost every single time.
Very impressive stuff, no doubt about it. Catches him going in for the die roll, but ZSX again! That was almost a horrendous time to get caught off guard, but he got the important rocket that he needed, and he's got a fantastic spawn. He has more than enough. The shield all comes out, but with no single shot weapons and just a start machine gun, Hell can't really fight back.
Oh, as you were saying that though, what about if he pulls out a gauntlet and then just holds it in front of him?
It's just, I just think that might have just been the last thing that ZSX was prepared to fight.
I think it was literally the last resort for Hell. He was so low on health. They had no way. He just got caught on spawn, right? He had nothing that was going to do a big burst of damage apart from the gauntlet. And ask and ye shall receive. The gauntlet did exactly enough damage.
Well, that was like perfect case scenario. It's a clutch. He's got no single shot weapons. He's got the starter machine gun. He's got his shield wall, but it's just about to run out. This guy can't possibly challenge me. Gauntlet dead.
Problem is though, ZSX has lost his Ranger, who's probably the best champion in his lineup at dealing with a clutch in terms of just counter to counter. Clutch is going to be able to follow Nyx and see where she's going quite easily. And we obviously seen that Visor is not the most mobile character in the game, so if Clutch just wants to get aggressive, pop that shield and get in his face, it's going to be quite hard to shake him off.
Now, this is the really important element here for ZSX. He's done a lot of damage, and he's forced the shield wall. He didn't even need to go in for his Ghost Walk. That was just so well played. This is where it gets dangerous though. 1 minute warning once again, and it's a Nyx versus a Ranger. If ZSX wants to do, he can be very defensive for the next 45 seconds. You can see the heavy armors can be spawning as well any second now. That's probably the last time we're going to see the heavy armor in play, I think. It will be back right before the end of the round, but I'm not sure if the fight will take place down there. If there will be a fight at all. Yeah, ZSX, the second he's even seen him. Oh, he saw him reappear. Going for it maybe a little bit early. No teleport onto the die roll, but it's not going to be enough. ZSX, really well played in that round. Just good accuracy, good patience, but more importantly, just good everything. Like, he just did everything really well in that round.
I think his accuracy has been the most impressive thing, though. He really has been on point, especially with those rails and actually long-distance rockets, too. Right. I think he's just in the zone right now. But let's not forget, these are another 2 players that have been trying week after week to try and qualify for the regionals, and now are finding themselves get closer and closer. I mean, this was the kind of match that was bound to happen sooner or later, when it just comes down to 2 players that we've seen a lot of before now. We know they're both good, but ultimately only one of them can move on. It looks like ZSX is convinced it's going to be him.
Now, Hells has opted to go for Clutch first instead. Before we talk about this, actually, there is another fight.
Die roll stuck to him. He's on 10 health.
Oh, and he gets a frag anyway. I was just about to say, I think we've seen the pick for Clutch at the start, because we just saw it in the last round. If Clutch gets caught in a bad spawn, it's very easy to pick him off because he hasn't got any of the weapons that work with him. He's forced to use a shield wall, and this has been a great round, by the way. Before I could even finish my sentence, he's taken 2 frags already.
Before he can stock up too, he's picked up like, what, 2 health and 1 armor before he got that kill again. Helder's just playing very good.
This is just the strength of a Clutch that gets picked first, I think. Very dangerous, especially when he can get the frag, and then on the flip side, Clutch gets a good spawn against you. And he gets another good rail.
Clutch is a very loud man, though. Heard him coming a mile off, but still very low on health. But a good Dark Rocket will good job to sort of keep him alive, but no. Ultimately, no, as Hell gets a quick 3 champion sweep.
I would be surprised if we don't see Hell go with Clutch every time first, at least in this map, because it was a night and day difference.
It clearly worked out for him. Like you said, you know, catching
there it is again.
Catching Clutch on a bad spawn can be almost a guaranteed kill, because you kind of, at the very least, you force his barrier out of it.
There is no better way to catch him than when you catch him when he's
But if you've got him
spawn.
first, and you know, we don't tend to see immediate. I mean, I'm not gonna say it never happens, but we don't tend to see immediate fights straight away at the start of the round.
Well, most of the time you're guaranteed some kind of item trade, and that will generally tend to be heavy armor or mega health. So if you're guaranteed at least one of those, you're not really going to get a bad start, because you've got all that health or armor combined with the shield wall, and then around that time you're going to collect some kind of item, or weapon I should say, that should help you there too. Just like that. Hell heavily stacked again. 147 health to 100 armor. That is a scary robot.
Oh, we've seen him. Is he going to go in for the kill? ZSX shooting at him back. No, he has access to... yeah, the die roll has been used to keep him alive.
Really good choice, especially seeing as there was nothing Hell could do to stop himself from falling down there. So ZSX was guaranteed to not be in a bad spot.
Oh,
there's
good
the rail.
shot from Hell coming out.
They both can't afford to take too much, though. Yeah, guarantees the heavy armor with the shield wall.
Only one rocket left to go. Hell's gonna have to make this one count unless he can find a box. Or maybe he can just get round to the rocket by itself. I don't think ZSX is in the range to stop him. No, there we go. Good top stuff up again.
Isn't really ready for him to be around there at all.
And here's that kind of stalemate situation once again. We saw this a lot in the first round, not so much the second, because Hell was basically able to roll the ball and keep it going straight away, but ZSX is going to use this dire orb to escape, get hold of this mega health, which he has managed to secure. Let's not forget only a 20-second cooldown on that dire orb, so he's going to have that up again very soon.
Definitely one of the smallest cooldowns in the game, but just meeting Hell head on, but against a clutch, I'm not sure that's going to work. We'll see if it pays off. They're going to trade it once again, I think.
Oh! Good lord.
That wall was almost...
Oh, that was so close.
2 different occasions. He hasn't been able to finish it. Misses the rail. I feel like with such a life deficit, that missed rail was very important that Hell was able to get away from that. If you've got lots of health and your opponent has little, that's just going to further increase that divide. No doubt Hell listened to that and just drops down straight on him.
Even little things like picking up small power-ups can be the difference between life and death. And that is exactly why. Pops the barrier to chase him down. No. He knows he's there.
And, yeah, I mean, I respect the attempt with the gauntlet. If you've just been caught on spawn and he's got a shield wall and you're waiting there, no other weapon was going to even have a chance to get around that. The gauntlet at point blank can actually penetrate the shield sometimes, but he just got a good spawn. He just caught ZSX in a fantastic position. Here comes Hell again. He just needs one more, but the mid-air keeps him alive, but with 17 health, he is still incredibly vulnerable.
Important frag from ZSX just to get that clutch off the table, if anything. But we can see that Hell has already managed to pick up the heavy armor, and not even gonna matter. Hell with that rail is gonna do things straight away. Round 3 complete, 2-1 already.
An element of recovering. When you manage to get a frag, but you've got such little health and armor left, when they find you on spawn, if they're nearby, you're just as much in danger. Even though they've just spawned and they haven't got the weapons, they don't really care about that. They just need that one final hit.
Speak weapons though, good spawn for ZSX. Is he able to get? Did he get the armor? Oh, he's getting chopped up.
He's trying to get out of there. No mincing for you today.
He wants to. He's chasing him.
Oh, that was just a complete game of chicken, I think, from both players. They just stayed confident, but this time ZSX.
However, though, yeah, Hell losing clutch straight away. That could be disastrous, considering that's really been the backbone of Hell's team so far. Left with, I mean, to be fair, I was going to say left with just Ranger and Nyx, but that's not a bad pair at all to be left with.
Yeah, definitely not. Both players incredibly weak once more. Oh, that was just clean.
And Ranger becomes Gibbs on the floor immediately.
Now, they've both gone down to Nyx. The difference here is that Hell was still quite a while away from having his Ghost Walk. Unfortunately, that missed rail was very, very costly, I think. If he could have just got that, it would have sort of made that the time to separate and get your Ghost Walk back a little bit more efficient.
Especially when playing Nyx, both these guys are very much, it seems almost like quite hit and run. But ZSX can use that aggressively there. Oh, he tried.
No doubt Hell saw the Ghost Walk, but ZSX, he couldn't have had less health if he wanted there. He just needed the smallest amount of splash damage.
Hell doing a good job of topping himself up with armor once again, though. He's going to get the mega health. Oh, ZSX is trying to stop him. Oh, there's the piercing sight. He knows where he is. His nail is going to start adding up quite quickly. The heavy armor is picked up too. Hell is already stacked up once again.
Hell's in a great position right now. He's got the piercing sight out of visor. So he's not going to have that for quite a while. 10 seconds away from having his Ghost Walk back too.
He had the teleporter too. He knows he's around there.
The next fight really should be 100% Hell if he can catch it early enough. Ooh, maybe I spoke too soon. That rail from behind. Forcing quite a lot of shield away from him.
Hell merely one champion away from taking the first map though. And still 3 minutes left on the clock. I can't imagine we're going to see another timeout at this rate unless Hell decides to just be very lame. But at the same time, how do you hide from a visor that has that piercing sight ready to go?
Well, you don't necessarily need to run away the whole game, but it is going to allow Hell to play that defensive style. He isn't the one that needs... He doesn't need to make something happen here. He just needs to stay alive.
We can hear the piercing sight's been popped, so ZSX is looking for it.
Hell still trying to get a read on where that sound came from. as each pickup gets collected here, it's just going to become ever so much harder. And again, Hell manages to take the heavy armor away from ZSX. That divide is going to stay nice and large.
Already though, looking back into this rail, didn't quite connect. ZSX has been on point with those the entire match, but not quite as much right now. 2 minutes left to go already. Oh, almost walked straight into some rockets, but good LG damage coming through. Oh, eats a rail though. Good mega health. That was actually really well calculated by ZSX to just eat that rail, knowing that he was just going to pick up the health immediately anyway.
He just needs to land one more though. He's hit one, but one is not going to be enough. Still trying to predict.
Oh, hell, is he going aggressive? No, I think he just wants to top himself up again.
Oh, he's caught him. ZSX didn't see him though, so Hell just... I think he's content just standing there. If he knows ZSX didn't see him, then why move? Why let him know where you've gone?
Look at how stacked ZSX is though. If he can get a good kill now, he's going to be definitely the Ranger with a lot less health, but is Hell even going to let him get close enough to do that? Oh, he hasn't seen him. Forces in, the Ghost Walk goes out immediately. And he doesn't have a piercing sight to track her down.
But he does now, so he's going to have that knowledge. Nyx's Ghost Walk gets down for around sort of 40 seconds. Now knows how far away she is. Hell so far away, I'm not sure if he even heard the piercing sight, to be honest. We'll soon find out.
We've already seen him go for that Ghost Walk, even if he is going to be close to death. I don't think it's going to stop him popping it.
Unfortunately for ZSX, the timer is not on his side. He has to make something happen. He only has 50 seconds to do it. There he is, caught sight of him, trying to head him off out the front. Here comes the fight, but he's just seen the trail, so he's going to have to get a read. Where has Nyx gone? Down the corridor. Really good choice to go down the corridor. He cannot go down there against Hell without eating a ton of rails that he can't dodge or rockets that are likely to hit him. That was a fantastic path from Hell. That was the safest approach.
And it's kept him alive and has kept this lead in his favor now, as 25 seconds and counting. ZSX really has to make something work soon. Mega health up, but he can't even waste time going for it at this point. I think he just wants to find Hell, and Hell we can see sitting under.
He's seen him.
Yeah, really well placed piercing sight. This could be crucial. Yeah, he's got him hiding, but it runs out as the Ghost Walk comes through. He hasn't caught him. 10 seconds left to go, and Hell is probably clean out of there. I think this might be guaranteed.
At the last minute there, I think he just tried to get a read on where Nyx was going to go. It wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough. He went behind, whereas in fact, Hell went towards, and that's just, I guess that can happen when you fight Nyx sometimes. You're just not going to get a good read every single time.
Only though, that was actually really good use of the ability by Hell though, because that is a trade-off. It's very easy on paper to say, well, Visor counters Nyx, because if she goes for Ghost Walk, you just pop piercing sight, and then bam, you know, you can follow where she's gone. But if you have no choice but to use piercing sight to just see where she is, then you find her. Even if you do damage to her, she's then going to have Ghost Walk to get away. And that's exactly what we saw there.
It's
Use
a huge
the sight to find her, not to chase her.
It's a huge part of Quake Champions, I think, as the game has developed. It's knowing what your abilities can do, but also saving them and using them on reaction to someone else, just assessing the situation that you're currently in. So on one hand, you might go Clutch beats Splashfits because he can shield wall the dual wield. But on the other hand, if you force the shield wall out early and he hasn't got it, then the dual wield just became your best tool at actually taking out a Clutch early on.
It just means you know what your answers are, and it's how you play around them.
That's what the best players would do.
Sometimes it can be a little bit black and white, but often it's not. You just know what's possible, and you have to do your best to play around what's possible, just to try and... That's what it comes to, just outplaying them, right? Trying to look beyond what is possible and just trying to think, okay, well, I know it's something to do, but how are you going to do it? What are you going to do about it? And sort of playing off of that instead.
So we know that Nyx is very popular among the Russian scene for Quake, but now Clutch is starting to really become a core element of some of these guys' team compositions. I feel like having Clutch and Nyx together is a very dangerous combination, because if you go Nyx first, it's great. If you go Clutch first, it's also great. On the flip side of that, they're entirely two different playstyles, where you can be defensive with both of them, but you can also be some of the most aggressive playstyles in the game, again, with both of those champions. Now, on Corrupted Keep, Nyx and Clutch together, it's still going to be just as effective.
Indeed, but Corrupted Keep, speaking of effective, we've seen ZSX now go for Scalebearer and Galena. So seeing our first Galena of the evening, we've seen have varying success.
We did see, I believe it was, I'm fairly certain I've got it here, but it was ZSX versus Zoot. We saw those guys go head-to-head. I think it was in week 2, but that was Ruins of Sarnath. In that map, we saw ZSX go with Galena too. So it's clearly a champion that he really likes. He had some really intelligent totem placements as well. So I'm expecting to see some really sneaky little traps set throughout the map here. I think he's got a really strong Galena.
Well, Galena is just one of those champions that's very snowbally, right? If you can really get her going early and get those totems placed down in areas that really help you control where you need to go, she can be very effective. We see, especially on Corrupted Keep, you can put up over near sort of heavy armor. Next to Mega Health is quite popular, sort of near Rocket 2, just to sort of deny those crucial pickups. But there is just so many. It's such a small enclosed map. It's just so much harder to avoid those totems in certain situations. And obviously, in such a small map, if you do shoot the totem and Galena knows where you are, it will take her seconds, if that, to get to where you are at the time. But it looks like Hell's going to be starting off with Clutch once again, and ZSX running with this Ranger first.
We've seen already how much of a dangerous start that can be if Clutch manages to get that rocket launcher immediately. Now he's going to go in for the kill here because he has just caught sight of the fact that the Dire Orb has been used up, and there was no way ZSX was escaping that one. Straight onto Scalebearer. Really matching health with health, I think. I
think it's actually quite common, though, seeing Scalebearer picked into Clutch in this situation, because the charge, you know, Clutch is not the most mobile character when it comes to, like, just point-blank mobility. Obviously, we know his dash is good at sort of getting him around massive distances. But when it comes to just being right up in your face, it's quite hard for him to dodge the Scalebearer bull rush because of his size of his hitbox. So maybe this is almost, like, picked as an answer to try and, like, just get that guaranteed damage on what is such a big target.
Got that high ground, all important high ground when you've got a rocket on hand. ZSX again forced to use that just to get away. Bull rush. You see it used much more as a defensive mechanism in some of these duels than aggressive.
Kevin jumping around though. Hell really trying to push this advantage. Only 1 minute in, just over 1 minute into this round, and already has a frag on the board. So Hell already with a lead. See, ZSX is trying to really bait for him to come out of this teleporter. There he is. Oh, there's the reactions, but he missed the shot. That's unfortunate.
He was ready for him to come through the teleporter, but didn't actually get the damage for that one. Here comes the LG. The trail is going to be a little bit better for ZSX, and the shield will used really late. Now it's going to be good for Hell, saving it until the last minute. Almost like a little bit of a trick. To not use it for so long, you think he hasn't got it. So you overextend, and then he pops it at the last minute and just takes you out.
Unless there's the chance that it only just came back, perhaps.
Yeah, potentially. Now, really good.
Matter.
Yeah, catches an early LG. Now I'm going to force him onto Nyx. ZSX down to that Galena.
We've actually seen full comebacks from Galenas in the past. It's a bit iffy. It can take a while for her to get going.
Hey, Neutrino, man. Neutrino versus Cooler. I'll say it a million times. On this map, Galena. Oh! Maybe not this time.
Did I catch him just before he went through?
Just milliseconds before, I think.
Must have done ZSX. I think he might have thought he just scared him away. Maybe he just didn't expect Hell to come back that way, but ultimately he's still going to take the round. Hell looking really good. And let's not forget, this is the map that ZSX would have picked in Corrupted Keep. Let's not forget the loser of the first map can choose the second. So ZSX definitely wanted to do this map. It's making sense, but ultimately, Hell, I mean, we've already seen how dangerous Clutch can be on this map, and it's definitely happening again.
The 9-day change was Hell going with Clutch first. Ever since Hell has gone Clutch first, it has been much better for him. He's had better starts, he's able to capitalize on good spawns afterwards because it's just a bully champion, a very, very bully-based playstyle.
Speaking of which, he's still going in very aggressively at the moment. Gets a nice 90 damage. We can see that ZSX is very low. Picked up a little bit of armor to top himself up in return for heavy armor. That'll do a little bit more for you.
Here comes Clutch. Top down, 72, 85, and 67. All three of those did so much damage,
they were
and
three
that's it.
Perfectly placed rockets too. He just tracked where he was getting knocked perfectly. And ZSX now going back into the Scalebearer for a second time.
Here he comes.
Caught in the corner. Has he seen him? No, maybe not. He can hear something.
Yeah, he would have heard that jump pad, no, without a shadow of a doubt. Oh, you see how fast Clutch can just...
Flying robot, make way!
I don't think I'm
Get
quite...
out of the way!
I'm still not used to seeing that.
I mean, you just don't expect to see it.
It's just a giant robot just flying through the air.
Still though, heavy armor though, he's very difficult to deal with now. And the barrier's stock too.
Definitely.
Heavy armor up for a while though. Wishes ZSX doesn't have much places to run back there.
But he knows that he wasn't caught there. He didn't catch sight of him. So ZSX is going to know where he is now, but the armor is just... You can't compete with it at this stage. He's still got 86 left. And there's the shield wall going in for his bull rush, trying to get out of there, taking a lot of damage. Forced to use it now. The next time he finds him, though, he's not going to have that escape. And Hell, looking to chase him down.
There was a really good rush, though. ZSX managed to just sort of cleanly escape the fight. Unfortunately, though, Hell is just continuing this momentum, being really aggressive. Has caught in this doorway. And another one. Hell has been on point with tracking these rockets.
Now ZSX is once again down to that final Galena pick, but had a hard time last time. I wonder what kind of work he has to do to make the comeback this time.
And that's going to be Galena versus Clutch. This isn't a matchup we get to see too often.
She's going to have the element of the totem. We'll sort of disregard the shield wall, but that's a very sort of specific situation to be in. Here he goes, and that's not going to be enough. Gets a rocket again, and match point for Hell at this stage.
Ultimately, if you don't have much armor at the time, and it is a clutch coming at you with like full health, so we can afford to sponge loads of stealth damage with that rocket, he is just going to nuke you down, and as fast as possible. And as I can say, that Hell now 2 rounds up, finds himself a 1 round away from advancing over ZSX in this final qualifying week.
This clutch has been a problem. There's no doubt about it. This change to going clutch first has been a night and day difference for Hell so far. You start off with all that health, get a little bit of armor and you're good to go. You've got that shield wall.
He can hear though that ZSX spawning a little bit closer to that rocket. Able to still pick himself up 1 though, so even though the fight wasn't taken immediately, Hell already has both the lightning gun and the rocket launcher to work with, and the heavy armor could be up in just a few seconds time.
Really good start for clutch.
And the mega health goes in the way of ZSX at the very least.
Oh,
catches
no.
him on the jump pad. His health is melting down.
There's the shield wall again to make it safer. Gets a good read on teleporting towards that dire orb. Not punished as heavily as we have seen before, but I think that's just positioning. Collecting 3 of those hourglasses for clutches, I mean, it almost shaves off like 10 seconds.
And what is such an impactful ability as well, like that 10 seconds on what is basically invulnerability is way too useful to sort of, contest with.
Has that shield wall, using it more defensively this time though, not really looking to aggress, just avoid the free damage.
That's actually quite a good break for ZSX though, knowing he hasn't got to worry about the barrier.
Oh.
And, oh no, I mean, I understand it though. As soon as ZSX knows that he didn't have the barrier, he went straight for it.
He's got a good spawn, but Hell recognizes he has not got the health to really capitalize. Now he does. 100 versus 125. And that 100 damage rocket as well as ZSX. Even if you're a tanky champion with minimal armor, 100 damage rocket will still hurt a ton. Looking to chase this one down as well. But
I mean, he knows the bull rush isn't there, but unfortunately a little bit too far away. He wasn't able to get much off it. Barrier hasn't been quite as impactful in this round as it has others, but he still has the lead. And even if you don't have the barrier, just getting right up in your opponent's face with the sheer amount of health and armor that Clutch has can be a game breaker.
Bit of a strange exchange there. Kind of got knocked into the air, but ZSX didn't really dedicate towards it. I think he might have used the ball rush actually. I just heard it, but we'll find out soon.
Looking to just stock up on armor can be very crucial, especially in these big body matchups. Lightning gun coming through.
There it is.
Again,
Oh.
and wow, there we go. 1 champion away. Hell with that direct rocket. Clutch and rocket launcher is his best friend.
Just beautiful rocket placement. Absolutely superb. ZSX is under a lot of pressure now. His Galena it really is his final stand between surviving in the World Championship. He gets 1 rocket, gets 2, gets 3 in the final 1.
Health again.
Oh.
That 1 health survival. ZSX thrown a miracle, but is able to quickly get rid of health in that 1v1. If he can top himself up and get the ball rolling, he might be able to make this comeback.
Well, as he's topping up, it's going to benefit towards that Galena passive. She's going to get cooldowns reduced as she collects health. It's going to help her really top up. Use that totem defensively if she needs the health, that instant burst of 50 HP. Back up to 100.
Oh, almost got hit by that rocket direct. No armor to deal with. Ghost Walk has been used aggressively as Hell there.
He hasn't seen him. Here comes Hell. And there we go. They trade. But unfortunately, the trade was not in ZSX's favor. And that's it. Game over for ZSX. But Hell moving on.
That's why Hell seemed content to just rush right in his face there. He knew he had that champion to work with. So even if he did take himself out in the process, wouldn't really matter anywhere near as much. And Hell with that aggression and that calculation at the very end. Doing well for himself. And he's going to be moving on. Commiserations to ZSX. I know he's been trying week after week and has been getting respectably far. But unfortunately, his duel cup does end here.
That's the nature of this final week. One can move on and one can no longer participate. So we're moving well and truly through this bracket, but the big clear thing here was Clutch. There's no getting around it. The change to Corrupted Keep did actually, I think, benefit Clutch quite heavily. It's a map that I think he does exceptionally well on. But that very first round where ZSX was able to take it convincingly too, like he took it really, really well.
I think that was my favorite frag of the whole series.
That was pretty well played right there, I must admit. But the second he went Clutch first, it just became almost like a light switch. It was so much harder for ZSX to recover, because Clutch first as opposed to Clutch later, you can catch Clutch on a bad spawn if he spawns afterwards, but if he comes first, it's just not possible, because you're guaranteed some kind of good item at the very beginning. Even if they try and rush you, you've got loads of health, you've got a nice amount of armor, and you've got the shield wall immediately. You always can't rush clutch at the very beginning. So a nice adaptation, night and day difference, and Hell will move on because of it.
He's just a nightmare to deal with, especially in the hands of a player that really knows how to use him, right? When they're using the barriers at the right time, they're putting that health and armor to good use. Their mobility is just hard to deal with, and they use the right weapons. Like, they are good, but when you've got someone that is just great with a rocket and great with a rail, and they've got the barrier up, that's when it gets really difficult, because they are his most effective weapons most of the time, especially when the barrier is popped, because just you're sort of minimizing the downtime of the barrier itself. I mean, how do you deal with that if the clutch is just that good?
Just a dangerous champion in a game of dangerous champions, I suppose. There are certain ways around it, but sometimes they can be a little bit situational. You're not always going to have the utility or the weapons that you need. And that's the way the cookie crumbles. Hell's going to be moving on, and we'll see him again. But while we get our next match underway, we're going to cut to a quick break and set things up. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.